This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, welcome to a Friday edition of the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, as always. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's great to be here on a Friday edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show. It's sad, Grant. No intern Laura today, unfortunately, but we will survive. We shall survive. I will survive. Or whatever the song is. I don't know. Anyway, this is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Grant, we have had a lot of fun this week. We had an April Fool's show on Wednesday. I gave you a heart attack momentarily, unfortunately, but I'm so glad you survived.
Unfortunately.
I was sad that I gave you a heart attack.
Unfortunately. It sounded like, unfortunately, I only gave you a momentary.
Oh, unfortunately, you didn't die, Grant. I'm sorry you lived. That's basically, yes, that's what my main goal is, to kill you off so I can have a new co-host.
Makes sense.
No, I can take all those millions that we make per show, kind of like the NCAA coaches for basketball, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, Grant, where can the good people of social media and our just listeners as a whole find us?
They can find us at Twitter at BG Sports Show. They can also find us on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. And they can also email us at Gmail, bgsportshow@gmail.com.
Yes, indeed. Remember, we are live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. right here on Spreaker.com. You can find us as well from 12 to 3 Eastern on SportsRadioAmerica.com. Go and check out our show page there. There's weekly polls that are broadcast on there. There are Instagram links as long as you use the hashtag the Bax Grant Sports Show. We do have an Instagram now. You can follow us at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. All different kinds of ways for you to find us. You can find us on TuneIn Radio, on Live 365, download our podcast on iTunes. The list continues to grow, Grant.
It's great.
It's
great stuff.
It's fantastic that the public can continue to follow us in all that we do.
We definitely appreciate that.
We really do. I do want to just take a second and thank everyone that continues to help grow the show. We've got a really nice studio courtesy of Steve Zambo, so we want to thank him very much for that. And Sports Radio America has been nothing but great to us, and we love broadcasting our show here, and they definitely don't pay us to say that. It's a true, though. It's a lot of fun to work for them, and working with you is a pleasure as well, Grant.
Oh, thank you, Bax.
Same to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Grant, on a Friday edition of the show, March Madness, the Final Four, just around the corner. We look ahead to the two games. You've got Michigan State versus Duke. And then the big one that everyone's waiting for, Kentucky versus Wisconsin.
Yeah, and when you say the big one, you're correct when you say that, because ESPN, a lot of people have submitted brackets to them. You can compare it. It's probably the biggest site to submit a bracket to, over 11 million brackets, and they always come out with interesting stats like how many brackets were perfect until the last one was finally broken. How many people got the Final Four perfect, stuff like that. And there was an interesting stat that came out that said whoever picked the winner of the Kentucky Badger game, because a lot of people picked that game, but over 50% said the winner of that game is going to win the entire thing.
And I don't feel like there's any reason not to believe that. I feel like even if Wisconsin wins and Duke or Michigan State goes through, I still like Wisconsin's chances. Yes, I feel like Duke might have a slight edge because they did beat Wisconsin earlier in the season.
That was earlier in the season.
Exactly. Wisconsin's an entirely different team at this point of the year. But it's hard. If it's a Wisconsin-Michigan State final,
that'd be interesting.
Michigan State's coming for blood because of Wisconsin beating them in the Big Ten title game. Not exactly sure if that works in the Badgers' favor or not.
Right, but the Badgers, if they do beat Kentucky, they would have just broken the undefeated Kentucky's season, which Kentucky, this team has been rated as one of the best that's ever stepped on the court in college basketball because of the season that they've had. So if they beat that team, you betcha that they're going to be thinking that they're the best team that has ever played the sport, and they're going to be thinking like that.
Yeah, rightfully so.
They would have just beaten that team. But we'll have to see. It's upcoming this Saturday, and it'll be a great Final Four. I'm really pleased with the matchups because even though a lot of people are really anticipating the Wisconsin-Kentucky game, I would say that the Spartans, Michigan State, there we go.
Michigan State, Grant.
Michigan State and Duke game is going to be absolutely fantastic as well. And another interesting thing that this hasn't happened in a while, from my memory, is that There is 3 1 seeds. Villanova is the only 1 seed. How bad do they feel to not be in the Final Four?
A little jab there for Villanova. You guys are great, except you're not.
But then look, another 7 seed.
Yeah.
Last year we saw in the final a 7 seed and an 8 seed make it.
Yep.
Now another 7 seed is in the Final Four. So that really goes to show that that seeding isn't everything. That you can have teams that didn't have the best regular season that were still okay, like Michigan State, but have a great March.
Is the 7 seed the new number 1 seed? I feel like, because it's consistent that the 7 seeds have been making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, and Wichita State was another 7
Exactly,
seed.
And look how far they made it in the past. Now, obviously, Grant, looking ahead, Duke, Michigan State, according to CBSSports.com and NCAA.com, and most everybody basically, Duke is favored to win this game, 51% to 49%, according to the national poll. No, it's a very close game in that regards. Do you believe in that? Do you feel like Duke is got the upper hand in this game?
I don't know. That's really hard to say. I wasn't keen on Duke, and I know you weren't either. But Duke has proven themselves. They got a little deeper than I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to get upset
they weren't
a little
going to
early.
make it far. Right? Because we kind of were joking about before the tournament started that Duke is the consistent team that always gets upset.
Right.
Always gets upset sometime early in the tournament.
Kind of like Kansas.
Exactly. And we're like, oh, it's Duke. Well, they're a 1 seed. Oh, they'll be the first 1 seed out. Sorry, Villanova. We just keep jabbing you in the stomach. But even still, Villanova, I'll take Duke over Nova any day.
Right.
And it's interesting because we were looking and talking about this briefly. The Final Four in the NCAA women's bracket is all 1 seeds in the Final Four. Every single one of them. Whether or not that speaks about the level of competition in women's basketball, I'm not sure. But at the same time, to have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four is a big feat. That's
right.
So that's exciting that you've got the 4 best teams. There'll be no dramatic storylines.
Yeah.
There's no Cinderella stories for the media to play on, unfortunately. But 4 number 1 seeds, that's a big feat for them.
But yeah, fortunately on the men's side you do with Michigan State. If Michigan State, I don't even see if people would consider it an upset if Michigan State beats Duke. I don't think it would be considered that big of an upset.
Not at this point anymore, no.
How Michigan State has played, I think Michigan State was a little underseeded. I think they're a lot better than people gave them credit for, especially like players that we talked about on Wednesday, I believe it was, Wednesday or Monday. It was
Monday. Yep.
Monday. Trice and Valentine as being fantastic players and shooting extremely well for their team.
Yep, exactly. And it's interesting to look ahead to, especially at the Badger-Kentucky game. According to NCAA.com, the Badgers have a 52% chance of winning this game over Kentucky. Now, whether or not that just means more Wisconsin people have voted for this game, it's hard to tell.
I think it's more people who they want to win more.
And that's the thing.
At
this point in the tournament, do people actually want Wisconsin to win, or they just don't want Kentucky to win? They just want to see Kentucky lose. They don't really care at this point who beats them.
I don't think they want Kentucky to win, but I also think with the way Wisconsin played against Arizona, I think that does boost people's confidence in how they're going to play against Kentucky. Because just look, I believe strong-heartedly and wholeheartedly that Wisconsin's best game this year, and I've watched a lot of Wisconsin Badger games, not all of them, but the grand majority of them, the game against Arizona was the best game that they played this season.
Yes, arguably.
And if they play that exact same way, they will have no problem beating any team they face.
Now, you could make a slight argument that the Badgers, one of their other best games of the year, did come when they destroyed Ohio State the last game of the regular season, or their comeback victory against Michigan State in the Big Ten title game.
But I would argue, though, that Arizona could possibly be argued as maybe more of a difficult team. I don't know, but Michigan State is very tough, and so is Ohio State. But you could say that Wisconsin showed extreme dominance with their shooting and just on the court in general.
Easily,
even though it wasn't like a blowout, but Wisconsin was pretty much, I felt, always in control for the most part.
Yeah, and it never really worried us, even though I do kind of start to feel guilty at this point that before the tournament started that I was saying that Wisconsin's going to be lucky to get to the round of 32.
Right. Well, because how they were playing and how they
were atrocious. That's the bottom line. They were atrocious.
No, they were good. They were a good team, but they had games. They were. You can't be bad and get a number 1 seed. You still deserve the number 1. They deserved it. They earned it. They played extremely well. They had an unfortunate injury, and they do have a problem Hopefully they've gotten rid of it by now, but they had a problem with beating themselves, and they haven't showed up to games. Now they showed up in this tournament. They almost lost a close one against Oregon, and they had to fight off UCLA, but they fought both of those teams off and then made a pretty good stance up against Arizona. Now they have their biggest test this year against Kentucky. Now Kentucky is going to be a tough team, but like I've just been saying, Wisconsin played against Arizona. They will have no problem. Now, I brought up this point last time, and I forgot to mention it. I was like, oh, how did I forget to mention it?
No, please do.
Wisconsin this season has, I don't even know if it was this season or combined last 2 seasons, but they've only lost 3 down late in the game. Find a way to battle back. They've done it time after time after time this season. There have been 4 close games that they have been able to do that. And even other games like against Louisville, because I know that wasn't – because ESPN did a coverage of 3 really close games. They didn't even count the Louisville game. So there was even some more on top of that. So it'll be a really interesting matchup because both of these teams are really tough, especially at the end of the game. So it'll be a fantastic last 10 minutes if it's close.
Exactly, yeah. And I think when it comes to the Wisconsin Badgers, we know that they're a very good team when it comes to scoring. Kentucky, they love to close out games big, so we'll kind of see what exactly works with that. One other thing I want to touch on, Grant, before we head off to our break and then welcome in Connor Christensen, is the USA Today Sports section came out today with the payout breakdowns of pretty much every big coach in Division I men's basketball. Now, it's obvious that men's basketball is a tough sport. It's a hard sport to coach. We know that a lot of the football coaches like Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, those guys make a lot of money at what they do because they're really good at it. But college basketball is equally, if not just as important to a school when it comes to making money. Now, we look at Wisconsin for a minute. Bo Ryan, the Big Ten Coach of the Year, he is projected to make a grand total of $2.9 million this year. $2.9 million.
That's fantastic.
The max total, which is great. Now, it's good for him. That's an awesome thing to do for the program. It's awesome that Bo is making as much money as he is. But flip it over for a second and take a gander a little bit south of the border of Wisconsin. You look at guys like Coach K. He's going to make $6 million this year, Grant. That's
crazy.
I'm not exactly sure if a college basketball coach needs to be earning that much money.
Well, look at what he's done though.
Well, and that's the
winning
thing.
1,000 games and all that. He's a great coach, and for being around as long as the league as he has, and he's known as putting together great basketball teams. I don't even remember what number Final Four this is, but he's been in so many Final Fours, and he's just a great basketball coach. And if you value basketball enough, and if you want to get a coach like him, I say why not pay him the big bucks to keep him around and make a great basketball team.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, but at the same time, I guess it all does come down to the money aspect of it. What cost do you need to continue to pay a college basketball coach that much money? You look around the board as well. I mean, Tom Crean from Indiana, $3 million he's making this year. Tom Izzo from Michigan State, $4 million. Thad Matta from Ohio State, $3.3 million. There's just
also, you were going to say it, but John Calipari making $6.3 million this year. Bill Self from Kansas making almost $5 million
this Rick year. Pitino from Louisville making $6 million. And it's obvious. These are guys that have high-quality performing programs that they know how to win. And it's obvious. And obviously, you got to take care of your big guy. If that's who it is, since you can't pay your players, it really helps make a difference in that regards.
And I just want to make a quick point, too. The Georgia State coach, his name is Ron Hunter. Just because they beat Iowa State in that one game, and they remember, they lost in the round of 32. They lost their very next game. But from that one game, he is expected to see a base pay increase of $75,000 just from winning that one game.
Wow, it must be nice to win one game and then just get all of a sudden $75,000 extra dollars. Holy cow.
That'd be nice to have.
It would be. It would be a nice little chunk of change to have. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. There's a rumored new man in town that the Packers might be looking to draft. Scott Tolzien is rumored to be the backup, but there's another name on the lips of Green Bay Packers players that they might be welcoming in this year as a backup. And then Connor Christensen is going to join us as well for his health tip. This is the Baxton Grand Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
All right, Grant. Well, the Green Bay Packers are rumored to have a new quarterback on the horizon headed to their organization. Now, obviously, it is still pure speculation. We have no idea who they're going to actually draft when it comes down to it.
Right.
But there's a rumored guy now.
Yeah, it would be, but it's a little interesting, though, thinking about it. It raises some questions because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be able to play forever, as sad as that sounds.
That's a very sad statement, Grant.
I still think he has at least he's halfway into his career, I would say. I think he still has about 7 or 8 seasons left to go. Optimistically, maybe even 10, but that might be a little high. Anyway, it's never too early to start looking for a prospective quarterback. Now, would this maybe raise some questions in saying maybe Scott Tolzien isn't the answer, or maybe he's a little, by the time Aaron Rodgers is out, Tolzien, it'll be too hard to hold on to him. If he's good enough, he'll be already 5, 7, 8 years into
I think
the
you need
league,
to hold on to Scott Tolzien. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Matt Flynn is on his way out of town anymore. He's not coming back.
How long are you going to hold on to a prospective backup quarterback that's going to be your starter? I mean, how long are you going to hold on to a guy? Because
that's
he'll
very
be older.
true.
He'll
Yeah,
be much older.
And I mean, we might see a Scott Tolzien develop into maybe like what a Matt Schaub is for now Baltimore, as he signed a new 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, like we said, Bryce Petty is the man that is rumored from the University of Baylor, the Baylor Bears. He took over after RG3 left. He doesn't have bad numbers, Grant. I mean, for passing in 2014, the man threw 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Not bad.
No, he threw for 3,800 yards. He completed 270 passes.
And if you want to look at the year before that, he threw 32 touchdowns. He played in 13 games, threw 32 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So that's fantastic.
Exactly. And he's only been the starter for 2 years, and the man has really made a name for himself.
Granted, it is the Big 12, and it's not the biggest football conference, but still, that's impressive if you look at, especially like Green Bay Packers, not counting Brett Favre because he liked to throw interceptions. But if you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, he is a man that does not turn over the ball.
A little jab at Brett Favre.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
Well, it's true. He has the NFL record for most interceptions thrown all time.
It's because he played a lot in the league, kind of like when Kobe Bryant missed the most amount of shots because he's been around in the league a lot. But kind of like Brett Favre, he tried to do too much with the ball sometimes.
He did, and sometimes that, as good as those moments were when he actually got it right, he ended up getting burned more often than not.
Right, but the Packers have now been welcoming of Aaron Rodgers and his ball security, so that might be a stat that they're maybe most interested in. And I know when you're looking at efficiency of a quarterback, that's one stat that I think more and more people are starting to look at now, especially since Aaron Rodgers has come onto the scene and done so well, and then it's like, hey, you can be a great quarterback and rarely throw an interception, and most of the times it's not even his fault when it does happen.
Exactly, yeah. And you look at a guy like Bryce Petty as well. He was voted the 2013 Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He just had a fantastic career. He has received Heisman votes, although he hasn't finished very high. He finished 7th in the voting in 2013 and 10th in 2014.
And it's higher than I placed.
Oh yeah, exactly. You were close. I think you were 11th last year, Grant. You just missed.
So close.
I think Bryce had you by like a point or two. But even still, the man knows how to throw the ball around. He finished first in total touchdowns in the Big 10. In the Big 12. I'm so used to saying the Big 10. In the Big 12 in 2013. For the Baylor Bears, throwing for 46 touchdowns. He had a grand total of 46 touchdowns in 2013 as well. So Bryce Petty, whether or not he actually does end up getting drafted by the Packers, it would be interesting to see. You had one more comment about that.
Yeah, also, I just want to point out in 2013, he had the 3rd most touchdowns with 46, and that was the most in the Big 12. In 2014, he had 35, which is the 10th most in all of NCAA football, and he was 2nd in the Big 12. So pretty big numbers. I would think that he would be a nice backup, nice little prospect. Maybe in a couple years, maybe use him to trade away for some nice players. That could be something that the Packers could look for.
Well, Green Bay's not the type of organization that they would just bring in a quarterback to just dish him out.
But hey, if he does well, but they can't hang on, because sometimes, like, look what happened to Matt Flynn. He played well, and then organizations wanted him.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with that, because then he'll want a pay grade
Exactly.
or pay raise eventually.
Exactly. Well, speaking of getting a raise, I want to get raised on my health, fitness, and the overall body stature. So with that being said, we're going to welcome in Connor Christensen, who obviously doesn't know how to do things because I don't know how to play music properly. Anyway, there we go. Sorry, Connor, I gave you Grant's Rants music instead of your music. I'm so sorry. Anyway, Connor Christensen calling in via Minnesota. How are things across the border there?
I'm not in Canada, so, I'm not talking like that. Things are good over here on my end. It's good to be home. Got to have dinner with my mom and hung out with my animals, my 3 cats and wonderful dog, so it's been good so far.
Well, good. We're so glad to hear that you're having some rest and relaxation time with the family and with the pets of many walks, creeds, and religions. But anyway, Connor, your health tip for us this week, good sir, is what?
My health fitness tip for this week is to get a buddy. Now, that will sound interesting, but my advice to you is to never work out alone. Now, you can do certain exercises. There are great DVDs out there, like P90X, Insanity, some of the Jillian Michaels workouts, and all sorts of things like that are great tools for you to work out in a secure place where, you're just at home.
Judgment-free zone, as it were.
Yeah. However, even judge-free zone or no, having another person around really helps you motivate yourself and also helps you keep yourself accountable to continue to work out. I don't know how many times during the summer I would get home from work, you work 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day and whatever, and then it's like, well, now I have to go to the gym? Yeah, that's not happening. But if you have someone that you're meeting at the gym or that maybe you're working out with someone who is at home with you or something like that, someone who can say, hey, it's time to work out. Get off the couch and come work out. It's not just you, it's me now too. And having someone there really helps you stay on top of it and actually go to work out. And also when you're working out, they help you push yourself to, push up more weight or keep going for an extra 30 seconds or whatever your goals are. Having another person there really, really helps you motivate, push yourself. And all around, it just makes you better at working out. It really does to have someone there.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that, even in my limited experience of working out, because I don't do it very often. Definitely more motivation comes when you have a partner or two in there. You can kind of have a few laughs with your partner while you're in there, but as well, you guys can motivate each other and keep each other going as you continue to work out. Now, when you work out, Connor, is it easier for you to focus when you're by yourself, or does it help having another person there?
It depends, because I have a couple different people that I will go work out with on a regular basis. I don't know how many times I've even told you, hey, Baxter, get off the couch, we're going to go work out now.
Yeah, more than once.
in that sense, I'm kind of being the one that's saying, hey, let's go. But on another point, one of our good friends, Steve, helps keep me motivated. If I'm getting sidetracked with conversation or whatever, even in the weight room, talking about something, he's like, so what are we doing now? And we are working out now. That's what we're doing.
Exactly. Accountability, it always helps.
Yeah. And it also depends on your mood. If you're kind of feeling, more energetic, whatever, you might feel distracted by having another person there. But at the same time, if you're feeling more introspective, even sometimes you're frustrated. A lot of people like to work out when they're frustrated to kind of
get rid of that anger, as it were. Just like, I'm going to go bench a truck now because I'm so mad at the world.
Exactly. So if you're kind of in that mood, then working out alone might be better, because then you can, attention-wise, I would still say have a partner, but I will say that it sometimes can be easier to keep your focus depending on your mood, and also just naturally who you are, who you're going to work out with, and all sorts of other things. But I would say as a whole, it is still better to have a partner with you.
Okay.
At least one other person. And then another thing, if you don't mind me putting another little sub point in there.
No, please go.
having someone who's kind of in a similar fitness level as you helps a lot.
That definitely does. I agree with that.
Yeah, because you go and you see a personal trainer and you're by yourself, and it's like, well, this person is like super advanced and everything, and they're over there doing one arm handstand push-ups,
They eat bins of protein.
Yeah. So having someone who's a similar fitness level as you can help you feel like you're progressing at a normal pace. You're not being outdone. It kind of takes away some of the competition, but it also adds competition.
It does, yep.
Which can help you push yourself. Obviously, if you're working out with a buddy, then the competition shouldn't be so much so that you're like sabotaging each other. but working out with someone in a similar fitness level can help you feel like you're doing a good job. Because I've had people, that's the biggest thing. There's people come in and they say, I'm too scared to work out because everyone around me knows what they're doing and I don't. It's like, well, let's grab someone else who doesn't know what they're doing, and then I'll show you both how to do it.
Exactly.
Great. You guys can work together, and it's wonderful. You get to see each other progress, and you get to see yourself progress, and it becomes a social experience. It's wonderful.
Exactly. Social experiences are definitely a good thing when it comes to being in the weight room. Obviously, you can stay focused, but at the same time, you can get the things done you need to, and you can help each other continue to grow. Now, Connor, one other question for you before we let you go. I'm not sure if you heard this news or not, but former Vikings quarterback Josh Freeman has recently signed a one-year deal with the Miami Dolphins to be Ryan Tannehill's backup quarterback for next season. How do you feel about that move?
It's interesting. I literally just looked at Facebook, and NFL posted that to Facebook, so I literally just saw that like 5 minutes ago. So I honestly root for him. Like when he came to the Minnesota Vikings, I was really they didn't give him a chance. The Vikings did not give him a chance. He was thrown into one game. He had been a part of the team for I think a week. Didn't know the offense, and they just expected him to win the game. Like no, they didn't give him a chance. And then as soon as they lost that game, they benched him.
Yeah.
So, to me, they didn't give him a fair chance to actually prove himself. Now, I'm all for Teddy Bridgewater. But at the time, when Josh Freeman signed with the Vikings, I was very excited for that because Freeman had shown some potential in his time in Tampa Bay, and I was all excited to see what he was going to be able to do, and then they benched him after a game. So I didn't know what the Vikings were thinking, but I'm hoping that the Dolphins are able to give him more of a chance to prove himself. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for him. And I'm really happy that he's signed with a team as good as the Dolphins because they're not a bad team.
No, they're definitely not.
No. So, and then with the addition of Dominican Sue, they're going to be stronger on defense, which, they kind of, it's a back and forth. You raise the morale on defense, morale on the offense goes up too. We've seen that dozens of times, like with the Seahawks, for example. So, I think that being in that dynamic will be really good for him, and I'm really excited to see what he's able to do as a backup. Or, if he gets to play or whatever, I really hope that he gets to shine at Miami.
Yeah, I think the world will certainly be watching now that they brought in a semi-comparable backup. Maybe Ryan Tannehill might be forced to kick it into gear a little bit more. So, all right, well, Connor, we really appreciate you stopping by for our show, whether it is, even though you are a few hundred miles away from us, we still managed to get you in the studio figuratively, not necessarily literally. So we appreciate you offering your insight for us. Where can the good people of the world find you on Twitter, sir?
They can find me on Twitter at ConnorDC126.
Yes, indeed, ConnorDC126. Connor Christensen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Connor. Enjoy your Easter, and we'll see you again sometime next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, you too, Connor. Thanks again.
Yeah.
All right, well, Grant, I was Connor stole your thunder there for a second. I decided to play your Grant's Rant music.
Come on.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on,
it's
man.
my first day on the job, apparently. But anyway, Grant, it's now time for Grant's Rant. Remember my first day in broadcasting. Geez, can't even push the right button when it comes to doing your part of the show. This is like the pinnacle part of the show, Grant. People
it's
listen.
episode 48. You gotta know what
People
you're doing by this
listen
point.
for Grant's Rant. They don't listen to Baxter Colburn. They listen for Grant Coppersmith's Grant's Rant.
Where's your moment, though? You need to have your moment.
My moment is doing the show with you, Grant.
Oh, so nice.
Thank you.
Suck up.
I know. Anyway, 30 seconds on the clock. Grant Coppersmith gets to talk about anything he wants in the sports world. and I get to just enjoy it for what it's worth and possibly rebuttal depending on what he says. Unless I agree with it, then I say great job and we go to commercial. All right, 30 seconds on the clock, Grant. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
This is a rare moment. There's going to be a positive Grant's rant today.
Stop it. No.
My new favorite fan of all time from a St. Louis Cardinals fan went diving for a foul ball during a spring training game. And he tripped and fell into the field, actually, which I was like, oh, they don't really like that. But he went, even though he missed the ball, beer went flying everywhere, but he still held his cup upright. There was still some left. I had to applaud him and give him a standing
Time's up.
It was
that
great.
right there
Standing
was
ovation
true,
for that man.
True class.
It was great.
Now, had he been able to catch the ball and finish his drink at the same time, that would have been absolutely epic. But hey, you got to start somewhere.
I hope he didn't get thrown out of the game because they really don't like it when you fall on into the field. So
I hope not.
I hope he was able to watch the rest of the game.
I hope so. I'm sure he did. It's spring training. Come on.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't throw people out. So hopefully he was able to stay.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're gonna stay right here. Well, we're gonna go to a quick break, and then we'll come right back into the studio. We're gonna talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Bucks and their new logo when we come back, the NBA playoffs, and then some potential free agents that are still looking for a new home. Grant, this is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, it's a special Friday edition of the show. You can sing the song you sang on Wednesday.
It's Friday.
There we go. I was like, we get just that's it. That's all we get. I mean, I don't want more than that.
I was gonna say, I feel like not a lot of people would want more.
No, definitely not. But I appreciate you cutting it off and saving us from that just fantastic song.
Oh,
fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I love it. It's amazing. It's almost as exciting as NFL free agency. There are still a few players, more than a few, but a few big name players that are still available out there right now that are still looking for homes. They're like lost puppies, Grant. Teams need to go to the Humane Society for NFL free agents and pick these players up. So Bleacher Report released the 8 available NFL free agents who could start for contending teams. Now, there's some really interesting names on here. We're going to go through the list quickly and kind of give our reaction so we can jump into NBA stuff before the end of the show. Just a reminder, intern Laura is not here. It's a Friday edition, but she is not here. She is away for our Easter break as we are in college, so we gave her the day off, wanted her to be able to travel and get home to her family, as Grant and I will do starting tomorrow. One other announcement, too, before I forget, since I'm on this page. We will not have a show on Monday. No Bax and Grant Sports Show on Monday, so Sports Radio America will be replaying either this episode or a past episode, maybe the April Fool's episode. That was a lot of fun. So just a reminder, no Bax and Grant Sports Show on this coming Monday.
Yeah, you'll have to get our reactions to how the Final Four and everything went on Wednesday, and how the tournament ended, actually, because it's ending this weekend.
Exactly. Or stay tuned to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might do our little bit of a reaction video there as well, depending on what it is. Even though we won't be together, we'll still be able to communicate our feelings in one way, shape, or form. But anyway, back to NFL free agency. The first name on the list is a comparable running back. I actually have never had a problem with him. Former New Orleans Saints running back Pierre Thomas.
Yeah, and a lot of people actually have been saying that he's one of the more underrated running backs that the league has seen in the last couple of years.
He is, yep. And so remember, we're talking about the 8 free agents right now that could start for NFL contending teams from Bleacher Report writer Russell S. Baxter. Yeah, not me. No. Russell Baxter is his last name. Russell S. Baxter, a colleague of mine, terrific person, prolific writer, great guy. He thinks that Pierre Thomas could start immediately for either the Arizona Cardinals, the Detroit Lions, or the New England Patriots. All three teams need a sound starting running back.
I feel like the New England Patriots, if they'd be able to pick him up, I think they would be even more deadly than they would be. I would think that they do need more of a running back because they don't have a they don't have a lot of offensive weapons. It was actually kind of a surprise that they were able to win the Super Bowl, even though I'm not really surprised at all. But look, they don't have a lot of offensive weapons because, of course, they have Tom Brady.
Yep.
And then they have
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Tom
well,
Brady.
And then you have Gronkowski.
Well,
but
that's
then,
also each other.
and then you could argue Edelman, but at the same time, he's not a huge breakout player.
Not an elite wide receiver. He's a great receiver.
He's up and coming though. But then after that, you don't have that many players, so adding another player like him would be a nice addition for them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the next name on the list is former Green Bay Packers, former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Greg Jennings. The team released him a few weeks ago after they signed Mike Wallace. Russell Baxter of Bleacher Report thinks that he could start immediately for the Baltimore Ravens or Carolina Panthers.
And there was actually some rumors that he was trying, well, not rumors, he was trying to repair some burned bridges that he started with the Packers because his feelings were hurt. But there were some
feelings were hurt. That's cute.
There were some rumors that he might go back to the Packers. Now, I don't know if he'd necessarily start because the Packers now with signing Randall Cobb, they have a pretty stacked wide receiving core. They're going to want to give their newer guys some time instead of making room for an older guy. But you never know. They could sign him for pretty cheap and see what they could do, but the Baltimore Ravens would be a nice fit for him, I think.
Exactly, yeah. So Baltimore Ravens or Carolina Panthers, both organizations need more wide receivers, especially.
Cam Newton does need a target.
He really does. He needs more actual veteran targets and not guys that are young up-and-coming wide receivers that are not even officially established in the league. The next player on the list is offensive lineman. He's a guard, Dan Conley. He's from the New England Patriots, so anytime you get a chance to snag or nab or whatever word I was going to say, I don't know how to speak English, Grant. Anytime you get one of Tom Brady's golden boys, I think you need to bring him in because he will immediately make your offensive line better and protect your quarterback. Now, there is rumors the Patriots might re-sign him, so that's completely understandable.
Right. Well, especially because it says here that they're losing a lot of their veteran players.
Yes, yeah. So you think the Patriots will more than likely bring him back? The 49ers and the Bills are rumored to possibly bring him in. We'll see what happens with that. Staying in the offensive line department, Justin Blaylock, a guard. For the Atlanta Falcons, there's rumors that he started 125 out of the 128 games that he's been around for.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. For an offensive line, you don't hear that happen a lot because the injuries happen all the time with your knees, all that stuff. It's very difficult to stay consistent on the field. Good for him, first of all, so well done for you. We applaud you for that, Justin Blaylock. But Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, Seattle Seahawks, all rumored to possibly be in the market for him. Buffalo is in the process of building a very scary machine that Rex Ryan is creating. Why not? You got to keep your quarterback safe out there, whether it's Matt Castle or EJ Manuel. Bring in another guy, an experienced guy. He was the guy that helped block for Matt Ryan. You know that he knows how to block for important people. Next, Grant, is Houston Texans center Chris Myers. Now, the Texans as a whole did not have a very good season, but the fact that Myers is still a dangerous center, he is a two-time Pro Bowl center. So it's a little surprising the Texans have not re-signed him yet. But you look around the board, you've got Gary Kubiak coming into town now for the Houston Texans. He might have some different plans with what's going on.
And this after the Seahawks just lost Max Unger to the Saints, they're looking for another center, and Chris Myers having a couple Pro Bowl selections would not be a bad choice.
Exactly, especially for a young quarterback like Russell Wilson. You want to make sure he has experienced veteran, not too old, but veteran guys in front of him, especially that quarterback-center relationship is huge. You've got to have that relationship.
And speaking of Russell Wilson, when you're trying to teach him to be more patient in the pocket and not try to feel the pressure as most, because that's been one thing that they're saying that he gets out of the pocket too quickly and he rushes and he loses big plays that he could have. So if you give him more time, he'll feel less pressured and you might give him some time to develop having more of a pocket presence.
Exactly. Yeah. Moving over to the other side of the ball, though, the men that are really good at causing issues in the backfield, inside linebacker Brandon Spikes. He has played for the Buffalo Bills for a while. He also has played for the Patriots. It's a little surprising to see him not available. It would be nice to see him go to a team where he can actually get some playing time. The Patriots and the Bills have been a little bit iffy for him. Interesting enough, Grant, we both were surprised to hear this. The Green Bay Packers are rumored to be one of
do not have AJ Hawk anymore. So picking up another linebacker who could instantly be of hopefully some consistent help would be nice.
Yes, yep, exactly. So looking at the next name on the list, a former Tennessee Titans free agent, is now a free agent, strong safety Bernard Pollard. He's been in the league for 9 seasons, Grant. He's been with 4 different teams, and he has had 1 Achilles injury.
Right, but he's not an awful player.
He's not.
He's a pretty decent safety.
He's a hard-hitting safety, and that's what you need, especially when it comes to the safety position. Rumors are that he might go to the Chargers, but it's never fully known until pen is put to paper. So looking at the last possible person is free safety Thomas DeCode. DeCode has spent time with the Indianapolis Colts. With the Carolina Panthers. I know how to read. The names were next to each other, and I jumped on the wrong one. Anyway, the Carolina Panthers. He used to play for the Falcons as well, but there is rumors, there we go, that he might end up at the Indianapolis Colts. I was going to get there eventually, Grant. I was just so excited to talk about him that I just jumped the gun completely.
Well, and then another free agent that I was really interested to see, and I know this could be bias at its fullest here, but John Kuhn from former Green Bay Packers, contract expired, so he's technically not with the Green Bay Packers. I have not heard anything of he might go somewhere else or if the Packers would re-sign him. I know that the fullback is a dying position in the league, but John Kuhn, he can carry the ball. He had a couple carries for 10 plus yards this season, so he can run the ball fairly well, and he's an excellent blocker. I know he's loved in Green Bay, so I wouldn't see a problem. I wouldn't see him not being a factor. I would see him playing very well. But I'll try not to use a double negative. I could see him playing very well for another team. So that would be another player I could see if a team is willing to pick up a nice fullback. Maybe the Seahawks maybe pick John Kuhn up for a couple seasons to see how long that you have beast mode along for.
Exactly.
Because he's not going to be staying around very long, maybe your season, maybe 2. So if you pick John Kuhn up for a season, you might be able to have a guy to block for you.
Yep, exactly. Well, speaking of blocking, you talk about the NBA, a lot of players getting blocked and stuffed in the paint.
Stop.
Yeah, it's a transition. You get over it. You love me for it no matter what. Anyway, briefly talking about the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks, they have a 6th seed in the Eastern Conference standings right now, looking to make it to the playoffs for the first time in a while. They unveiled a new logo, whether it has yet to be fully confirmed because the official grand unveiling will be April 13th of this month. So we'll see exactly what it ends up looking like. But the rumored logo, the new M for the Milwaukee Bucks, looks a little retro and a little like EA Sports, like custom make your own team back from like the early 2000s.
It does not look good. Like there was some, I would just say, interesting comments.
Yeah.
When we were reading,
it's a family show.
I will not repeat them, but they were. I'm not going to say that it's the best looking logo. So I hopefully the new colors and the new logo is a little bit better than we saw.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're looking over to the NBA playoff current standings. The playoffs have yet to happen, but the teams continue to do it as teams have clinched some playoff spots already. You look at the Atlanta Hawks; they have already clinched a spot.
They've clinched their conference as well as Golden State.
Yes, the Golden State Warriors have clinched the West, while the Hawks have clinched the East.
And the Toronto Raptors have clinched their division.
Yep, and then you look across at the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Chicago Bulls, and the Washington Wizards. They have all qualified for the playoffs. And have yet to just kind of see where their final seeding is going to be.
Right. The Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, and the Brooklyn Nets right now are in the final 3 spot. Boston Celtics, and you could argue the Charlotte Hornets are trying to battle for that bottom spot. Also, the Pacers, you could probably say that the Pistons, Magic, Sixers, and Knicks are out of it at this point, but I guess you can't count anybody out.
Sixers are definitely out. They have 18 wins.
You might be able to argue the Pistons, but I'd say Pacers, Hornets, and Celtics are trying to battle the Nets and the Heat, maybe the Bucks. But I think the Bucks are fairly safe if they can at least pull out a couple more wins at the end of the season.
Exactly. Right now, you've got 3 teams, the bottom 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, under 500. Grant,
It's gross.
that's just kind of how the Eastern Conference.
We were talking
works.
about at the beginning of it, or before the show started, that it's kind of sad when you're sending over more than half over and into the playoffs. You're gonna see that, and so how exciting is that?
Exactly.
actually?
And you look over at the Western Conference, Grant, you have to go 10 teams deep before you finally get a team that's under 500. All 8 teams so far in the playoff race for the Western Conference are all above 500 right now.
Well, you could argue that with the NFL, because if you look at the NFC South this year, did not have a team that was over 500.
No.
And then you look at I'm forgetting the division, but with the Browns,
AFC North.
the AFC North, you had the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens, and not the Browns, because I believe they went 7-9 at the end of the year.
They did not finish out well.
But they almost had all 4 teams over 500. That's very difficult to do in your division because you play all your division opponents at least twice. So you do see that also in other sports, but it was interesting to see in the NBA. And going back to the NBA, I just want to point out something to show, because I did not realize this, but to show how dominant Golden State is.
They are disgusting this
They
year.
have won 61 games, and here's the big one. They have only lost 13 games all year. Their win percentage is 82%.
That is insane. You look at the next
Absolutely crazy.
the next best team in terms of losses, is the Atlanta Hawks with 19. So the
That's still pretty good.
Oh yeah, if you can stand your 20 losses on the season, I don't think Atlanta will, but even still, that's huge. You look at teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, they've got 27 losses. They're in second place in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Memphis Grizzlies and Houston Rockets, 24 losses, and as they sit in second and third in the Western Conference. The West is pretty much completely locked up aside from the last 2 spots. Golden State number 1, Memphis 2, Houston 3, Portland 4, Los Angeles Clippers 5, and Spurs at 6. Mavericks sit at 7 right now, and OKC Thunder sit at 8, and then the Pelicans and Suns are fighting along with OKC for that last
But the
spot.
Utah Jazz, they're probably a little too far out for playoff contention right now, but they did not have a great season last year, so it's good to see that they're at least putting something together. I think they were fighting with what's the name? The Milwaukee Bucks. They were fighting with the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, last season for the worst record in the
fighting
NBA.
for the worst record.
Right,
That's
fighting for
funny.
the worst record in the NBA. Now, you look, Milwaukee Bucks, they're 37-38. They're in a playoff spot right now, and the Utah Jazz, even though they're not really looking at a playoff spot, just how tough their conference is, but they had a much better season. So
Yes.
It's good to see that.
Remember that time once upon many a month ago when Aaron King said that the Cleveland Cavaliers weren't going to make it to the NBA playoffs?
Oh, wait, I think that was me.
Or maybe that was you.
That was me.
That was you.
That was
How's that
me.
working out so far, Grant?
I was trying to be bold, and I
You
was
were.
trying to prove a point that I did not think that the Cleveland Cavaliers are not a high-caliber team, and I don't think they are, because who's saying that LeBron James or anybody else in the Cleveland Cavaliers is MVP? Nobody's saying that. You
It's
know
a
who
team
they're all
effort,
saying?
though. It's a
you
team
know
effort.
You know who they're all saying?
Who's that, Grant?
Stephen Curry.
Oh, because he is just dirty from 3-point range. The man broke Chris Paul's ankles like it was nobody's
Oh,
business.
that was sick.
If you haven't seen that
watched
video,
the video.
check it out.
There, who's the famous comedian? Chris Hart?
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Or Kevin Hart. He sent CP3 a bunch of memes, and he posted. Chris Paul posted the funniest one, and it was him being crisscrossed on a twister, not playing with a bunch of kids, and it was great.
That's
It's
awesome.
so
That's basically what he
fantastic.
did. Oh my gosh. But we're going to crisscross applesauce right out of here. This has been another edition of the Backs and Grant Sports Show. An exciting Friday edition. Remember, no Backs and Grant Sports Show on Monday, as we will be enjoying the, I know, sad day. There's wailing and gnashing and rending
Weeping
of
and
garments.
gnashing of teeth.
Oh my goodness. Hide your kids. Anyway, we're going to take a extended break, as it were. We will be back again on Wednesday. Intern Laura will be back. All will be right with the world. And we will be
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Depending on the NCAA tournament.
Exactly. Grant and I might be in a different state of mind depending on how the tournament goes. Anyway, for Grant Coppersmith, Connor Christensen, who joined us, and even though she's not here, intern Laura, I'm Baxter Colburn. Enjoy your Easter, and we will talk to you all again on Wednesday.